The moment you pull away, everything shifts. When you pull away, everything changes. It's not just your absence that affects her, it's the impact of the void you leave behind. When a high-value man disappears, the silence speaks louder than any words could. She starts feeling things she didn't expect, emotions that will change her perception of you forever. Today, we're diving into the 8 powerful emotions she goes through when you simply vanish. These aren't fleeting thoughts. These are deep, life-altering realizations that will make her see you in a way she never has before. Section 1. The shock of silence. The first realization she experiences when you disappear is profound shock. But it's not the kind of shock that fades away in a few hours. No, this is a deep, all-encompassing realization that her life has just taken an unexpected turn. It's that moment when the air feels thick and everything around her seems too quiet. You see, your presence in her life wasn't just a passing occurrence, whether she admitted it or not. It was something she relied on, perhaps even more than she realized. Think about the routine interactions she became used to. The sound of her phone lighting up with your messages, the way your name would pop up in her notifications, the anticipation of your next call or text. All of that, in an instant, is gone. And it's that silence, the silence that follows your disappearance, that hits her the hardest. It's more than just the absence of noise. It's the absence of connection, validation, and someone who made her feel noticed. At first, she might tell herself it's no big deal. Maybe you're just busy, or perhaps there's a good reason for your sudden quietness. But as time passes, the reality sinks in. You've really disappeared, and she wasn't prepared for it. That's the first thing that catches her off guard, the shock of realizing that your absence might not be temporary. This initial moment sets the tone for everything else. The silence becomes a mirror reflecting back to her just how much your presence meant, even if she didn't acknowledge it at the time. This shock is profound because it disrupts her sense of normalcy. Suddenly, her world feels a little less stable, a little more uncertain. She might try to distract herself, but the empty spaces you once filled become impossible to ignore. Every time her phone stays silent when she expected to hear from you, every moment that passes without you, that shock deepens. It's the kind of jolt that lingers and forces her to reckon with what's really happened. You're gone, and she wasn't ready for it. Section 2. The craving for validation. Once the shock of your disappearance wears off, another emotion takes its place, an intense craving for validation. This isn't just a fleeting thought, it's a deep, nagging need to know that she mattered to you. When you were in her life, whether she realized it or not, you gave her a sense of validation. Your attention, your interest, your energy, it all signaled that she was important to someone. But when you disappear, all of that is taken away in an instant. Now she's left questioning herself. Did I really matter to him? Was I important, or was I just another option? This need for validation consumes her, and it's not something she can easily shake off. The absence of your attention makes her start to doubt her worth. The very thing that used to make her feel secure, your presence, has been ripped away. Now she's left scrambling to fill the void. At this point, she might start checking her phone constantly, hoping to see a missed message from you. Maybe she even looks through your social media, trying to figure out what you're doing and why you're no longer reaching out. She'll look for signs that you still care, even if they're small or indirect. In her mind, she's searching for proof that she still holds some significance in your life. But here's the thing. Your silence only amplifies her insecurity. The longer you stay away, the more she craves that validation. This is also when she might start reaching out in subtle ways. Maybe she'll like a few of your old posts or send a casual message, just to see if you'll respond. She's trying to reopen the door, trying to gauge where she stands in your world. But if you remain distant and hold firm in your silence, that craving for validation becomes more desperate. It's like an itch she can't scratch, a gnawing feeling that she's lost something she can't quite put her finger on. This craving isn't just about you. It's about her need to feel valued, to know that she made an impact on your life. And when you disappear, that need becomes all-consuming. Section 3. The rise of doubt. After the craving for validation comes something even more unsettling: doubt. Did she make the right choices? Did she make the right decisions in her interactions with you? Things start to spiral for her emotionally. Your disappearance forces her to question everything. She begins to doubt the choices she made, the things she said, and the way she acted. She replays every conversation in her mind, picking apart every word, every gesture, every moment to figure out where it went wrong. Did I push him away? Was I too distant? Did I say something I shouldn't have? These are the questions that start to flood her mind, and they don't just come in waves. They stick around, lingering, gnawing at her sense of security. Doubt is powerful because it erodes her confidence. What once seemed like certainty now feels fragile and breakable. She starts to see all the little things she could have done differently. Maybe she should have been more vulnerable, opened up more, or been more responsive to your needs. Every interaction between you becomes a puzzle she's trying to solve, but the problem is she doesn't have all the pieces. You're not there to clarify things or offer explanations, and that's what drives her doubt even deeper. This is the stage where she questions not only her actions, but also her understanding of the relationship itself. Did she even know what was going on between the two of you? Was she really as in control of the situation as she thought? Doubt makes her realize that maybe, just maybe, she didn't understand you as well as she believed, and that realization is terrifying. Doubt feeds off your silence. The longer you remain distant, the more she doubts herself, her actions, and even her perception of reality. It's this internal questioning that begins to chip away at her sense of self. As doubt grows, so does her desire to resolve the situation, but without you there to explain or clarify, she's left spinning in circles, unsure of where to go or what to do next. Section 4. The feeling of rejection. Rejection is one of the most painful emotions a person can feel, and when you disappear, she feels it deeply. Your absence isn't just a random event, it's a choice you made. You chose to walk away, to pull back, and that choice feels like a direct rejection of her. Even if things weren't perfect between the two of you, even if there were signs that things were rocky, the fact that you made the decision to leave stings deeply. It's one thing for a relationship to fade naturally, or for both parties to drift apart. But when one person actively chooses to disappear, it leaves the other person questioning their worth. Why wasn't I good enough for him to stay? What did I do wrong? These are the questions that start swirling in her mind. Rejection feels personal, even if it's not meant to be. It makes her feel like she wasn't enough, that something about her wasn't worth sticking around for. What makes rejection so powerful is that it taps into a primal fear we all have. The fear of not being loved, of not being valued. And in your silence, she feels that fear come to life. She starts to believe that your absence is a reflection of her shortcomings, her flaws. Because she can't hear your side of the story, she's left to fill in the blanks in her mind. The narrative becomes one where she wasn't worthy of your attention or affection. But here's the kicker: rejection doesn't just hurt. It motivates. It pushes her to prove herself, to win back your attention, to show you that she is worth it. This is when she might start reaching out more, trying to reconnect, trying to show you that she's changed, or that things can be different. Rejection is painful, yes, but it also drives people to act, to fight for what they believe they've lost. And in your absence, that's exactly what she feels, the sting of rejection and the burning need to do something about it. Section 5. The guilt that follows. Once she processes the rejection, another complex emotion surfaces: guilt. This is when she starts to take responsibility for your disappearance, even if the circumstances weren't entirely her fault. Guilt is tricky because it convinces her that she had more control over the situation than she really did. She begins to ask herself, what could I have done differently? Could I have been more supportive? Did I push him away without realizing it? Guilt can be consuming. She begins to replay every interaction, every conversation, searching for clues or moments when she might have messed up. Was there something she said that pushed you away? Did she come across as too distant or too demanding? In her mind, the blame starts to shift toward herself, and the weight of that guilt becomes heavy. It's not just about losing you anymore, it's about feeling responsible for driving you away. What makes guilt so powerful is that it forces her to confront her own behavior. She might have convinced herself that she did everything right, but now, in your absence, she's beginning to see the cracks, starting to recognize the moments. She begins to recognize the moments where she could have been more vulnerable or where she let her guard down too quickly. Guilt brings a harsh spotlight to these moments, and it doesn't let up. It lingers, making her question not just the relationship, but her ability to maintain any future connection. This guilt also fuels her desire to make amends. She wants to fix things, to prove that she's learned from her mistakes, and to show you that she can be better. But here's the thing, you're gone, and that makes her guilt even harder to bear because she has no outlet for it, no way to seek forgiveness or clear the air. Guilt eats away at her because she's stuck with it, unable to make things right. That emotional burden grows with every day of your absence. Section 6. The fear of being replaced. As guilt settles in, another fear begins to creep into her mind, the fear of being replaced. This is one of the most powerful and painful emotions she'll experience. When you disappear, she begins to imagine the possibility that you've already moved on, that someone else has taken her place in your life. Maybe it's another woman, or maybe it's something else entirely, your career, your hobbies, or your newfound independence. Either way, the idea that she's been replaced is a fear that gnaws at her constantly. This fear stems from the deep-seated need we all have to feel irreplaceable. When you were present in her life, she might have believed that she was special to you, that there was something unique about your connection. But now, with your disappearance, that belief is shaken. She starts to wonder if she ever really mattered at all. If you can just walk away so easily, what's stopping you from finding someone else? This thought terrifies her. The fear of being replaced forces her to compare herself to others. She might start stalking your social media, looking for clues, new friends, new women, anything that suggests someone else has stepped into her role. Every time she sees you enjoying your life without her, it feels like confirmation of her worst fear. You've moved on, and she's been left behind. This fear also drives her to question her own value. Was I not enough? Did he find someone better? These questions don't just haunt her, they tear her apart. The idea that someone else could be enjoying the attention, affection, and time that you once gave her is almost unbearable. It creates a sense of urgency, a desperate need to win you back before it's too late. But again, you're not there, and that only amplifies her fear of being replaced. Section 7. Regret. Wishing. She could turn back time. Regret is one of the most painful emotions because it's rooted in the past, a past she can no longer change. Once the fear of being replaced sets in, regret follows closely behind. She starts to wish she had handled things differently, that she had said or done the right things to keep you from disappearing. Regret forces her to look back at your relationship with a critical eye, and it makes her long for a chance to rewrite history. She'll start to wish she had been more open with you, more understanding, or more present. Every small mistake, every missed opportunity becomes magnified in her mind. Why didn't I see this coming? Why didn't I show him how much I cared when I had the chance? These are the kinds of thoughts that keep her awake at night. Regret is painful because it's tied to things she can't fix, and that helplessness makes it even worse. Regret also brings a sense of longing. She'll begin to miss the little things about you, the way you made her laugh, the way you listened, the way you supported her. The memories of your time together become bittersweet, filled with the weight of what could have been. She'll start to realize that what she had with you was special, and the thought of never getting that back fills her with sorrow. The worst part about regret is that it's isolating. No matter how much she wishes she could change the past, she knows she can't. And without you there to talk to or make amends with, she's left alone with her thoughts, replaying every moment over and over again. Regret becomes a prison, trapping her in a cycle of what-ifs and lost possibilities. Section 8. Growth. Learning from the experience. The final stage she reaches is growth. After all the pain, all the reflection, and finally accepting your absence, she starts to grow from the experience. She begins to understand that your disappearance wasn't just a loss, it was a lesson. She learns more about herself, about what she truly wants in a relationship, and about the importance of valuing the people in her life. Growth is a powerful stage because it's where she begins to rebuild. She takes the lessons learned from your absence and applies them to her future relationships. She might become more attentive, more appreciative, or more aware of the value that others bring into her life. In a way, your disappearance becomes a catalyst for her personal growth. This growth doesn't mean that she's completely over you, but it does mean that she's moving forward. She's taking the pain and turning it into something meaningful, something that will shape her future in a positive way. In the end, your disappearance wasn't just an ending. It was a turning point in her life, one that led her to become a stronger, more self-aware person.